2023, a year in review, is probably what I'm going to call this video. It's what I'm thinking at this point anyway. My idea is to start doing something every year where I look back at the previous year at all the highlights and the things that I accomplished to kind of give me motivation going into the next year. And it's a nice idea, I think. We also are going to do looking ahead to the next year and set some goals, but that'll be the next video, probably come out tomorrow or something like that. We'll see. Since this is the first one though, I feel like we could just take a minute here to do a little bit of catch up. The year is 1991 and I'm born. Maybe we don't have to go back that far. The year is 2008 and I pick up a video camera and start making videos with my siblings that we upload onto YouTube. I assume because it was January of 2008, we either did it right there at the end of December or the beginning of January. I'm going to say probably the beginning of January because I'm guessing our post-production didn't take very long. It was pretty much slap it together in the camera and then slap it together in Windows Movie Maker. We didn't even cut any scenes or edits. It was all one take or we would delete the clip. Anyway, skits. We were doing that. That's technically the first time I had any interaction with YouTube from a uploading perspective as opposed to just consuming constantly. The year is now 2014. I'm making videos on the internet with a friend of mine uploading to YouTube as we do skits, come up with ideas, play games, some in real life, some on the internet, having a good time, usually just making each other laugh. It's fun. But also in 2014, I have the desire to do something all on my own for a change, and I need some name. Something as a brand, as a way to identify myself on the internet. And I spend most of a Saturday racking my head and beating it against the wall and trying to come up with things and realizing that every idea I had has already been done. There's nothing original left and can't come up with anything. Eventually I land on, let's just make up a word. It doesn't really matter what it is, right? I've been watching content creators most of my life. Some of their usernames don't mean anything. Some of them transition to just using their own name. Could I use my own name? No, there's a lot of Michael Wards, very famous ones. No, never really going to be able to get that, and I certainly can't get the domain name for it. So, towards the end of 2014, I settle on a word that I made up. And that's my domain name. I don't really do much with this website. I do some writing at some point. I drew some silly comics, just kind of throwing things. Everything kind of falls through. Eventually, I did do some Hot Wheels photography. And photography, that's where we're headed. The year is now 2018, summer of 2018. And I've got this DSLR kicking around. It's actually the same one that I'm using to record this video on, funny enough. And I've had it since 2014. It's just kind of been there. We used it to make those videos back in the day. I use it here and there for photography, kind of just playing around with it. But I really started learning what photography is in 2018 and a lot about cameras. I've got a professional photographer for an older brother, and I get to pick his brain a lot about this stuff. Then I start going outside in the summer of 2018 and taking pictures. Some nature, some wildlife, some birds. For the next year and a half or so, I made it a habit whenever I had the opportunity, most weekends and end of the workday, I would go out with my camera and see what I could see. And eventually I'd start getting new cameras and other things, a lot of nature photography and wildlife photography. As I said, for about a year and a half, I'm still doing it to this day, but towards the end of 2019, I took that website that I had and I completely redid it, just deleted everything and started over. I rebuilt it as a blog, telling the story, what I was experiencing as I was going through and taking all of these wildlife photos. Something I was really enjoying. It had grabbed me in a way like nothing else ever had, and it was a way for me to share it, was putting it out there without it being so much on social media. I tried social media for a while and gave up because it was a cesspool. There's another pinpoint on this roadmap to where we're at today that happened towards the end of 2019. It's been about a year and a half of going out, doing wildlife photography, especially birds. Being able to identify them is very exciting. It's thrilling. It's collecting. It's all the things that I like. I watch a nature documentary on Netflix called Our Planet. I remember very clearly when I watched it because I had a lot of free time on my hands. We were on vacation in Destin, Florida, and I'm doing wildlife photography whenever I get a chance, going out with a camera to the beaches of Destin, Florida, and looking at the seabirds that are there. It's a really cool thing. At one point, hey, you want to watch this nature video? Yeah, why not? I say to my significant other, and we watch it together. And I'm just taken aback. Whoa. It looks amazing. It's incredible. The views that they capture. How did they do this? It's like the wildlife photography that I do, but like times 1,000. I want to do that. That's awesome. Now you know what happens next. It's 2020, a global pandemic starts. And For one of the few times in my life, I'm faced with the idea of mortality, that there is an end to all of this, and have I accomplished enough to the point where I'm proud of what I've done? And that answer is very quickly and easily no, which sends me down a depression spiral. But we pull out of that, and towards the summer of 2020, I go, I really want to try this video stuff. And I'm presented with an opportunity from being furloughed from work, which means that I did not have to work. I got to stay home, and I got more money then than I'd ever made in my life. So I had a decent amount set aside. A couple of things happen. For one, I pick up a video specific camera and head back out into nature, this time to try to learn how to capture video of birds. Well, this is different. Then we pack up and move across the country. At the end of 2020, I make the decision that if I'm already doing video, it seems like a natural inclusion to not just have a blog, but now do a vlog. And that's where we're at today. At the beginning of 2021, I recorded my first video in which I had a pretty lofty goal. One day I will be able to do wildlife photography, cinematography, videography, whatever ography you want to call it, full time. To the point, not so much because I think that there's a ton of money to be made there or anything, that's never been my goal or my focus in any way, but to the point where I could get rid of my 40-hour-a-week job and just focus on this full time. Hey, it's been 3 years and we're not there yet. Surprise. It's a little disappointing, sure, but it's a lifelong goal. I don't expect it to happen overnight, and we're still working on it. That's okay. I have to be easy on myself sometimes because I'm too hard on myself in many, many other ways. And that almost catches us up to where we're at today. Hopefully this was nice and short when I edited it together, and it's not going to be a full 45 minutes that I've been recording so far. There have been plenty of high points over the last 3 years of me regularly uploading videos, and also some low points, and some just plain boring points. But if I'm just going to solo out one of them for the sake of time, the sage grouse. They have this mating ritual called a lek, which they have to have a nice clear open space. They do a whole dance. I went and found where they were doing that, and I set up a bunch of really nice cameras and took some really nice video, and I'm really proud of that. It's really cool. Go watch that. It's awesome. Let's get to 2023. 2022 ends out with me not just recording mostly in my car and using that as the thumbnail, although that is a majority of it, but we move into a new year and we are full of goals. We pick 5 birds that we hope to see over that course. We also branch out into not wildlife related things, which was something that I never dared do. I wanted only to have wildlife, and well, I wanted to do something different. It's my channel. I can do what I want to with it. So I built some computers. Why not? And we get to do, we got the GoPro in 2023. That's really cool. We're going out. We are at a park, a great location in hindsight, going to it all the time. We get to see, do some personal things. Here's another big one. We started something completely different from wildlife. Capitalism Ho, a series that I made to talk about things that I like that are very opposite from wildlife. But cameras, that was pretty similar. And you can see we're branching out even more. I was recording a personal vlog while I was making dough. That was something I did. There I am going out and looking for wildlife, different things. That's some older footage that I was re-releasing because I didn't have anything else at the time, and yep, there we go. Well, this was another perfectly normal wildlife vlog. This is a great video. It's super short. It was more of a joke thing that I did, but I watched it this morning when I was looking through to pick out the highlights, and that was one for sure of just a silly thing that I did. One of the highlights of 2023 by far is the nesting hummingbird. This broad-tailed hummingbird it made a nest. It's a great moment, and it's also a terrible moment. It's fantastic in the fact that I got to go and regularly see this hummingbird that was sitting in a nest, and it would go off to go find food and then come right back. And so I got lots of video of it coming and going in different ways and some slow motion shots. I'm really proud of what we did with that. Unfortunately, to spoil it a little bit, the park that I was going to wound up having some crews come in to take down old trees, dead trees, and it completely destroyed the nest. The bird was gone by the time I went back another month or 2 later. So a bit of a sad note there, but it was a really cool thing that I got to see it. I was really pleased with that. We continue going not just with the wildlife stuff, but there's a lot of some Star Wars handheld gaming. That was a fun one. We're leading up to, I can feel where the change is about to happen because there's a move. There's a move in the middle of 2023 across the state of Colorado, down from the mountains and outside of the really expensive mountains that we lived in with everything there. We moved, and I documented the process. And then we get down here, a recording studio. Hey, that's another really big thing that happened. I was able to build a space that I can just come and sit down and record whenever I want to. I'm really happy with this. It was great. We continue going out. I cleaned up some of my old footage. I started exploring new places down off the mountains. Another big thing that happened, I started playing Pokemon. Pokemon means a whole lot to me. I recorded something back in 2022 about how it's kind of related to birds, and it was also like one of the games that really defined my childhood, and I'm playing it more regularly. That's still going on, and we're recording all kinds of videos. There's another one, a new series in October. Just a few months ago, I started something that was very similar and something I'd had on my mind for a really long time, which was what I like to do of going out and sharing this experience and experiencing wildlife, but digitally, and do digital photography. And so I've been doing that. That video comes out every Saturday, which is great. Pokemon's on Friday, Monday's a Capitalism Ho. That's kind of the schedule as it goes. These are some of the big highlights that I managed to do. Comics. I read comics once a month and make a video. As you can see, we've kind of branched out where it was only wildlife before. Now it's wildlife and all kinds of other things. And that's exciting to see. If I had another really big highlight, I think out of this entire thing, it's this video right here, wildlife photographer loadout. This was so much work and effort, and I'm really happy with the way it came out. It took like multiple days of shooting and an entire month of editing on the weekends to get it done, because it was by far the silliest and most work I've put into a video, but I'm really happy with how it came out. It's just great. And then that brings us closer up to right now, today. There we go. It's great. I'm having a good time. I think I wrote down some other notes. Let me double check. Oh, I saw moose. I saw plenty of moose up in the mountains area, but I came across one on a trail, like 50 feet away from me or something like that. That was a great moment that happened. Everything was fine. I was very respectful of their distance, and the moose did not mind. They were fairly used to humans, given the fact that they were basically in a small town, but that was a really exciting moment that happened. I got to see the moose. Oh, some new equipment. I got a new camera over the summer, a Sony a7R5 or V. It's great. I'm really happy with it. I'm really glad that we've kind of transitioned. I want to get back to the bigger cameras and stuff. We'll talk about that more in the next video, but also got some new mics set up. It allows me to fulfill that kind of like, ooh, new stuff. I want new things. I want Kid on Christmas. I want opening new boxes. And it also allows me to go, what do I get to do with it? I'm going to be able to use this for years and years and do all kinds of recordings through it. It'll be fantastic. So that's another reason why I do this. And it's really exciting to me. So I'm glad I got that new camera and some new microphones. That was cool. I think that's a pretty good summary of this past year. It hits a couple of the highlights that I'm really proud of. I'm kind of happy with how everything has turned out. There is something that, assuming next year, we'll be able to talk more about. I would think the year in review part would talk about the goal that I specifically set out to see 5 new birds. I identified 5 and researched them. And to tell you, I did not find any of them this year. We did not see any of them. But we'll talk about that a bit more in the next video, because I plan to definitely see some of those along that goal. But that'll be next time. And that was 2023. Did I get to achieve every single goal I set out to? No, not at all. But I'm happy with where I got to. I'm happy with where I'm at, and I'm more excited to see 2024. We'll talk about that next time. And now I'm just kind of awkwardly sitting here because you gotta have 15 seconds at the end of every video for the end screen and the cards that come up. And see you next time.